Is it easy to be a successful pastor? How challenging is the pastoral ministry for you? These days, becoming a pastor in Africa has transitioned from being a calling to a challenging business assignment that demands manipulation, tricks, and cheating to survive and prevail on the pulpit. Can you pastor God's way? Can you carry this burden without secretly shedding tears?
Without using witchcraft, without manipulating, without using ESP, without praise about doctrines, without preaching paganistic gospel, you could still be successful and still do the right thing and still make it.
In this video, you will learn
about pastoring without ESP. Hello everybody. Well, yet another product for you guys. You can't believe what product this one is. I'm sure you will not believe it. I'm sure you'll be totally fascinated by it. So what I'm doing right now is going to be called DSA's Pastoral Nuggets. So at last, I've got the opportunity to speak to pastors. And not just to pastors, but to believers. Many people know me as a pastor, but you've never really seen me in that amplitude. You've never really seen me in that quality, in that role. To speak to pastors, to speak to my colleagues. I have a reputation because of some of the teachings I've been doing, especially to correct the maladies in the African churches. So many people have now come to the impression that I'm bashing pastors, fighting pastors, or attacking pastors. So many pastors have come to believe that I don't like pastors, that I want to pull down other people's ministries and churches. Nothing could be farther from the truth than that. I'm a pastor myself. So I want to really use this opportunity to comfort and cool down my colleagues, my pastor colleagues, that no, I cannot be an enemy to pastors, but I'm an enemy to demonic practices that have come to hijack the church, especially the African church. But while I'm not against individuals and I'm not against pastors or even ministries, but I'm against practices that are evil, that are against God, and I'm against anything that is not the truth, that is against the truth, and that is against the doctrine and the practices that the Lord Jesus Christ has left for us and the apostles have given to us. So in this session that I'm going to be doing, DSA's Pastoral Nuggets, I'm both going to be ministering to the pastors and to believers, congregants, and I'm also going to be talking about how church is supposed to be run and what church is supposed to be meant for. But before then, I would like to start with the topic, which is one of the things that a lot of people know me for. I'm going to be talking today about pastoring without tears. So in a few days, in a couple of series that I'm going to do in the Pastoral Nuggets, I'm going to be talking about how to pastor without tears, because this is going to be one of the ways I could support the pastors and help the pastors to know that they don't have to compromise, they don't have to go through the evil ways, and you pastors don't have to compromise. You don't need to go to the native doctors, you don't need to go to witches, you don't need to manipulate things, you don't need to do the wrong things to be successful. I've been successful as a pastor. Our church and my ministry has been regarded as one of the top most successful ministries in the world. The Peter Wagner, there used to be a missiologist like that, and a church historian that said about our church, the Embassy of God Church is one of the top 10 churches in the whole world. I have been able to build a church like that. It means that I know one or two things about pastoring, and without using witchcraft, without manipulating, without using ESP, without praise about doctrines, without preaching paganistic gospel, you could still be successful and still do the right thing and still make it. But let's first of all start with the series on pastoring without tears. So what are the things that will help you to become a pastor without tears? Number one, you need to know that Jesus said in Matthew 11:28 to 30, my burden is easy, my yoke is light. Jesus says that his yoke and his burden, they are easy and light. When he calls us to ministry, it doesn't intend for us to have a burden that is too heavy on us, or the yoke that we cannot bear. his yoke is easy and his burden is light. What does that mean in practical terms? It means that whenever we accept to minister or to accept the call to be a pastor, first of all, you have to know that it is coming from God. Make sure that you didn't just go into ministry because it's something that somebody told you to do, or it's something that you think is the in thing now. It has to be his burden, and it has to be his yoke. If it is his yoke, then you'll be able to pastor without yours. But if it is your yoke or your burden, things are going to be very tough. So it has to be something coming from it. You have got to get that leading of the Spirit and that affirmation from him and confirmation from him that he's asking you to do what you're going to do. That he's the one asking you to go and start that church. That he's the one asking you to go and, do pastoral ministry. You've got to seek for confirmation from him and let the Spirit of God speak precisely to you, because he's the head of the church. And if the head of the church is not employing you for the job, you better go and do something else. So you could minister as a believer, not necessarily becoming a pastor. Because unfortunately, right now in Africa, many churches and many pastors are indoctrinating people, telling them that basically the only way they could serve God is by becoming pastors. And if you are eloquent and you are well-to-do and you dress nice and you talk well, they just basically make you become a pastor. And that is why we've got a lot of compromises in the church. So the first thing to do to become a pastor without tears is to know for sure that you are called into pastoral ministries. If you are not sure about it, just be a believer where you are and discover your passions, discover your other passions and begin to realize them and begin to fulfill God's calling upon your life in other areas of life other than pastoring. But if you want to pastor and you don't want to be frustrated, please make sure you know God is leading you. So that is how his yoke is going to be easy and his burden is going to be light. So that one is important. Number two thing for you to become a pastor without tears is that you need to learn how to just practice the culture of casting that burden back to God, returning the burden back to God, getting the yoke back to the person to whom it belongs. You see, God said it is his burden, and Jesus said it is his yoke. That's in Matthew 11:28 to 30. He says, it's my yoke, it's his yoke and his burden. So if it is his yoke and if it is his burden, then why don't you just go and learn to hand it over to him? Because one of the things that is making pastors not to be able to pastor without you is one of the things that is really, making life difficult for pastors is because they don't know how to minister or do God's work without making that burden their own burden. They don't know how to minister without making that yoke their yoke. So the idea is that you can actually serve God, do ministry, no matter how many challenges you have, no matter how many persecutions you have, no matter how difficult the ministry has become to you. It doesn't have to, be your yoke. It doesn't have to be your burden. It doesn't have to weigh you down. So the way to do it is to practice what I call solitude. Find time, at least maybe once a month or maybe once in 3 months, to at least go away just for like 7 days or 5 days, maybe 3 days if it's every month. And just to be alone with God, where you'll be able to rest, first of all, physically, and you'll be able to just, shut down everything around you. You'll be able to shut down all the frivolities and the vanities around you. You'll be able to hand over back to God all the burdens of the church and the challenges of the church that you are facing on a daily basis. And you'll be able to talk to God one-on-one, heart to heart, and be able to renew your personal relationship with him, and then tell him to handle all the things that you are, all the challenges that you are facing in ministry. So that is a time of renewal. It's also a time of getting the burden back to God and making sure that you are well yoked with him, but not yoked to the church and not yoked to the problems. So you've got to de-yoke yourself in those times of solitude. You de-yoke yourself from the problems of the church and ministry. You also unyoke yourself from the challenges of the church and of the burden of trying to build the church by your power and things like that. And why you hand over and submit everything back to God, and make him the sole owner of those burdens and those yoke. So that's another way for you to pastor without tears. I've been doing that for the past 20 years, more than 20 years, 22 years. I've been just practicing solitude, going away to be with God for between 3 to 10 days, maybe 14 days, or more sometimes. So another thing you need to do to be a pastor without tears, you need to realize that we as pastors were not called to build churches. We are not the ones building churches. A lot of pastors actually think that they are the ones building church. So everybody says, I want to build a church. I'm building my church. I'm trying to build a church. I've tried to build a church. I'm doing this to build a church. But really, if you talk about the church, what Jesus said about it in Matthew chapter 16 is that I will build my church. I will build my church. And the gate of hell will not prevail against it. So you've got to allow God to build the church. If you try to build the church, or you use your human wisdom, because building the church has to be something beyond man, something supernatural. To build the church, you've got to let God do it. What you need to do as a pastor is to make sure that you fall in love with God, that you have close personal relationship with Him, and that is your priority, is your love, is your focus, that you bound yourself to Him and with Him, but then submit, relinquish the position of trying to build the church to Him. So let Him build the church. If you allow Him to build the church, He will just be giving you the ideas, He will be giving you the wisdom, He will be giving you the insight. If your dependence will be and your focus will be just in bonding with Him, hearing from Him, the only thing that you will need to be doing is just to hear His directions and His wisdom and follow. And once you hear, when you go to solitude, and He will be giving you directions on what to do, well, you just need to be coming out and carrying out those instructions and carrying out those wisdom that God is going to be giving you. Your basic role as a pastor really is just to carry out, listen and obey. Listen and carry out the instructions that the Lord is going to give unto you. So it says, I will build my church. It didn't say you, pastor, will build the church. It said, I will build my church. The problem why we cannot pastor without tears is because we are trying to build what God was supposed to be building. And also in Psalms 127, verse 1 and 2, he said, the laborers are walking in vain if the Lord is not building the house. And then the watchers, the guards are, watching in vain as well, over the city if the Lord is not watching over the city. So you want God to do what He needs to do, and you do what you need to do. The Bible says in Zechariah 4:7 that it's not by power, it's not by might. Just let's believe God. And once you do that, you don't need to be in tears as your pastor. Now, finally, so how do you then excel and be an exceptional pastor? The key is in John chapter 5, verse 19. The Bible said that the Son, which is God, Jesus, but it could be you too, the Son can do nothing except what He sees the Father does. You must know that your role as a pastor is to make sure that you see what the Father wants to do. Let's say you are pastor in Los Angeles. You want to connect to God so much that you will see what He would have liked to do, or what He would have done in your place if He were pastoring in the same city as you are pastoring right now. So your idea, your strive is just in one thing, to make sure that you see what God is doing or wants to do in a particular place at a particular time. Once you see what God does, you just only repeat what He does. So that's the secret of success in the ministry of Jesus. He said the Son can do nothing. You must come to that place as well, that you can do nothing except what you see the Father do. The idea is to duplicate what heaven is already doing. The idea is to duplicate what the Father is already doing. If you could get yourself to a place where you'll be able to see the Father and what He's doing, and you just come and duplicate it here on earth, your success story will be staggering. Before Jesus fed the 4,000 or 5,000, He was actually with the Lord. He was with God overnight, doing night prayers by Himself. And then when He came out, He knew exactly what to do. He had seen what the Father was supposed to do, what the Father is doing, and then came out and repeated just exactly that. And also, before Jesus selected the 12 disciples, He also was on the mountain with the Father. Why? He needed to get direction and see what the Father was doing. As soon as He saw it, He came back from the mountain. He knew exactly what to pick. That's how we do pastoring, and that's how to be a pastor without tears. Peace.
If you found this video useful, please tag all pastors you know in the comment section below.
If you have been watching our videos and maybe you enjoy them, maybe you don't enjoy them, but still, we need you to help us spread the word. And for that to happen, we only need you to take 5 little steps. Please help us spread this word by liking the video. Then, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We also need you to press the notification button, and the way to do that is to click on the bell. You see the bell there? Click on it. Then, of course, leave your comments. Let's know what you're thinking about each video. And finally, we need you to go and share the word. Share this video on your Facebook timeline, on your Instagram, and every other platform that you have. All right? Let's win the world for Christ. Thank you so much.